What's good, my people? Welcome into Buckets, Action Network's daily NBA betting podcast. We're in the workshop. Tuesday NBA slate. I always get confused when we're recording it live now on Buckets. Come hang out with us every single evening at 11 p.m. Eastern. I am your host, Sean Little. My guys with me, Joe Dellera, Bryan Fonseca. We are presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. You know how we do. We get the play, we get the cap, we get you guys out of here. But first, we like to start with a little what we learned tonight in the association. And this one actually has me a little perturbed, so I'm excited to talk about mine. But Fonseca, I'm going to come to you. I'm not going to ask you how you're doing. Joe Dellera, I'm not going to ask you how you are doing and how you have a young boy running around the house in a Jalen Brunson jersey. We're going to get right to it. Let's kick it off. Fonseca, what we learned in the association tonight?
Don't trust Mikal Bridges. So many people in the NBA not to trust. I don't know about y'all, but the first, I guess we're almost at about 2 weeks exactly now, so we'll call it the first 2 weeks, have been much more difficult than I expected. In terms of profitability, I'm sure not everyone could say the same. There's going to be people in the comments be like, ha, I'm up 10 units or whatever. Like this, there's ebbs and flows to this shit all the time.
1 cent units, baby.
You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. And last year definitely got off to a better start than this year, but we'll bounce back at some point. But yeah, Mikal Bridges just 8.5 rebounds and assists against the Wizards. The Wizards of all teams today needed 8.5. He's gotten this line every game but one, and has gotten at least 8 in every game. And today he gets 6, and it's 29 minutes, so it's not even like a huge drop off. It's the least amount of minutes he's played this year, but still it's 29 minutes. And against the Wizards, unfortunately, even with the majority of other potential rebounds he had, just couldn't quite get it done. So that was unfortunate, and what looked like it was going to be a pretty good spot for him to continue getting that RA. Not quite.
Yeah, new squad still. I mean, we thought they would just roll right into the Mike Brown era. It's been a few bumps in the road for the New York Knicks to start outside of once Jalen Brunson wants to get busy, he more than well can turn it on and score on anybody in the league at any time. But outside of that, they still got a couple nagging injuries, a couple things to figure out, rotations being one of the biggest ones for sure for the Knicks. So Bridges will get going, but he's always going to be a guy where he'll show up and have a monster game numbers-wise, or he'll impact in other ways. He is really hard to pinpoint on a nightly basis, so I do feel you on that, Fonseca. All right, Joe Dellera, what did we learn in the association?
I got 2 things. Number 1, Derek White kind of ass this year, like not been great. Like, and I've kind of mentioned this yesterday, but the scaling just has not been very good for him. And there has been, one of the things we were talking about last night was the scaling difference between, say, like Austin Reeves and Derek White. Derek White was somebody who, when the games were going off, or, he could pop off at any time in any game. And then if there was like a one game here or there, he did seem to kind of step up a little bit in that spot. But having Tatum, or, not having Tatum and having Brown kind of at the helm this year is a little bit different too. Tatum's a little bit better at setting his teammates up, I think, than Jaylen Brown. But Derek White's just been terrible. Like the numbers are not good. He's shooting 30% from the field, 25% from 3, and the volume is still there. Like he's taking more shots. Like you expect this to fall and kind of turn the corner at some point, but I'm done trying to catch the falling knife with him. I kind of gave up a couple games ago, but I think that at this point you kind of need to just watch and see how this is going, because the added volume has not been good for Derek White. Secondly, the Utah Jazz just cannot be trusted with anything. They said Isaiah Collier. Yeah, like good or bad. Like they said Isaiah Collier was active today, and then they're like, is he going to play? Coach is like, maybe. Does he play? No. It's like, why did you announce that he was active? What was the point of that? Like the guy
maybe activate him in fantasy for no reason. Thanks.
I know, same. So I'm venting a little bit from personal strife here, but even then, Utah, I think the craziest part about this is that Utah is playing a back-to-back, and they went from a 12-man rotation yesterday where Kevin Love got minutes to a 10-man rotation today. Kevin Love still played minutes. Bryce Sensabaugh out of the rotation, and then Isaiah Collier didn't play. I don't know what they're doing over there, but just bizarre rotations all around. I think it's going to be very, very difficult to bet on them in any way, shape, or form from a spread perspective. Maybe not as much from totals, but from a player prop perspective as well, because you just really don't know who is going to play a ton of minutes. Like Laurie played 37, Keontae George played 38 minutes today. Yesterday, Keontae plays 33, Laurie plays 32. So just wild minute rotation, wild minute distribution. They're not to be trusted in any way, shape, or form.
I like it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure they know what they want to do as an org, so it doesn't surprise me.
All I know that they want to do is they want to not have the name Jazz on their jerseys, and they just want everything to say Utah for whatever reason, right? We'll do the windy. Like, why would they do that? Like, that's it.
No, I feel it. And then to go back to Derek White on shots, 20 to 24 feet from the basket's 31%. Deeper than that, 25 to 29 feet is 26%. And that's where 7.5 attempts per game are coming from. He's shooting 26.7% on jumpers, 25 to 29 feet, essentially three-pointers. So, yeah, slow start for Derek White. One of those guys that you'll get, I think casuals from time to time will be like, well, Derek White could probably run a team by himself. Seems like he could, right? And it's like, nah, probably not. And you see, a guy like Tatum out of the fold, and then he's asked to do a little more offensively. And it's just not where he feels comfortable and where he impacts the most. So, yeah, good call out there. For me, Miles Turner, boys, flat out isn't getting the offensive usage I thought he would in Milwaukee. Like, simple as that. I thought he'd go to Milwaukee, make an impact, get a lot more looks, look to be more dynamic offensively, and he just isn't. Of the 5 starters, he's 4th in usage, only behind AJ Green, who's probably the least versatile person of the 10 every time he's on the floor. He's on the floor to do one thing and one thing only. He has one job. And Miles Turner's the exact opposite. He's known to be versatile, can do a lot of different things, but just flat out hasn't got the usage. He's only been 2nd in shot attempts behind Giannis, of course, once this year. That was against the Cavs. I'm thinking, boys, okay, you're seeing your old team in the Pacers. This is where you would get aggressive. They would look to get you shots. They would look to get you involved as much as possible. He took 7 attempts versus the Pacers. So what I'm learning is Miles is just going to continue to be extremely passive in the situation. He's going to have to be spoon-fed to get involved in that manner. I just didn't think that was going to be the case when he got to Milwaukee. So, I mean, like, okay, Ryan Rollins is going crazy. I get it. But he's getting 4, 5, 6 less attempts than Gary Trent Jr. on some nights. Bobby Portis playing 8, 9, 10 less minutes, getting 3, 4, 5 more shots than him in times. So I was just a little taken back by that. And I thought I was watching closely tonight versus the Pacers thinking, if he doesn't get him up tonight, when would he get him up? And he didn't get involved against his old squad. So keep an eye on that when you're looking at Milwaukee and potentially Miles Turner's props, is because I just don't know when he's going to get aggressive. And I'm looking forward to seeing if it ever happens this season and what his role will bloom into, especially on the offensive end. All right, the crown is yours. Let's get into a little DK ad read from our guy, Matt Moore.
The Buckets podcast is teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook, where new customers can bet $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins, and 3 months of NBA League Pass. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on star player props and in-progress games right as they happen. To get started, use promo code BUCKETSNBA when signing up with DraftKings. Again, use code BUCKETSNBA when signing up and bet $5 to get $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. Plus 3 months of NBA League Pass. The crown is yours.
1-800-GAMBLER. Use it if you need it. The crown is yours. Let's go. Let's get into it. 3, 2, 1. You know the new routine. We got 3 stars. Those are our best bets. 2 stars. Those are our best bets, but a little worse. 1 stars are something that, we might dabble with if we need some more action on the evening. JD, Joe Dellera, I'm going to come to you first. Give me your 3-star bet for the Tuesday NBA slate.
So I'm going to be on Trey Murphy over 26.5 PRA. Love this spot for him against the Charlotte Hornets. I think it was a little bit of a tougher matchup for him against the Boston Celtics last time out. Just kind of never really got into a rhythm. But this matchup against the Hornets, I think, is elite. Plus, when we add in the fact that Zion Williamson is questionable, I think you have to kind of consider, whenever Zion's on the report, he doesn't even need to be on the report to miss a game at this rate. But when he's on the report, then it definitely is something to kind of keep an eye out for. When he's missed these games over the past over the past season or so, like dating back to last year, on this 26.5 line, we're seeing Trey Murphy exceed this mark in 18 of 29 games without Zion Williamson. So I think when you kind of look at the two things put together, he could take on that little bit of an additional scoring role. Plus, when you look at what the Hornets got, Hornets don't really have a ton of great defensive options that you can throw at him. A lot more teams have some rangier wings, some better defensive players that you can throw on Trey Murphy. I don't really see that in the same way with the Charlotte Hornets. So I think that Trey Murphy's in a great spot to not only score himself, but also rebound the basketball and distribute for his teammates, especially if Zion's out. But even if Zion's in there, I think there's plenty of opportunity for him as a spot-up shooter or above the break against this Hornets team who has been playing at a pretty fast pace and is obviously weaker on the defensive end of the floor. So I like Trey Murphy over 26.5 PRA.
I really like this spot as well. I looked at it. He's hit 10 threes in the last 2 games. I think there's a really good shot that he scores 20-plus points in this matchup. If Zion doesn't go, that's something that I think is very likely. His volume is going to go way up on the offensive end. I like this spot a lot versus a Charlotte team that has trouble against these style of players, and he fits the mold to impact in a lot of different ways. He had 6 assists, 5 rebounds versus the Clippers the other night as well. He's been shooting it really well. I like this spot a lot. Fonseca, what do you think?
I have a play that's kind of correlated with it, actually. And I think with Trey Murphy, it can feel Zion proof because he has been getting this number at different times in the season. And I do wonder, to Joe's point about the defense, I do wonder who from Charlotte is going to be guarding him. Because one of their best defenders, for example, is like Zion James, who people may not even know he exists. Yeah. But he's more of a guard. Like, I don't think he's going to be on Trey Murphy. I think he's going to be one of their perimeter guys, like Jordan Poole, for example, or Jeremiah Fears, as a matter of fact. So is it going to be Con Knipple? And if that's the case, and I think he'll be a pretty solid defender, but I don't think he's ready for Trey Murphy right now. So, like if this is going to be the case, they're still figuring out what they have in Salon, and I can't tell you that it's much. So I do like this a lot. And the answer could also be Miles Bridges, which he's not necessarily fine, but I don't think Trey Murphy has to be. I'm not worried about him going 4 for 18 if that's the case.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and these are 2 of the worst defenses in the league. So if it is one of those games where Charlotte is scoring a bunch and they got to keep up, I just think Trey's going to have a lot of opportunities for volume, and that's what you need when you're looking for a PRA. And if we're going up and down, more rebounds available. Yeah, I really like this spot for Trey Murphy over 26.5 PRA. Good look there. Joe Dellera. All right, Fonseca, give me your 3-star play for the Tuesday NBA slate.
The New Orleans Pelicans first half.
Say it louder for the people. I didn't hear that. Wait, say it again.
New Orleans Pelicans minus half a point in the first half. We're going with them to essentially cover this, to win the first half against the Charlotte Hornets. This, to me, like, the reason why I deliver this the way I did is because I was on Pelicans first half against the Clippers last time I was on Buckets. So this is toward the end of the week last week. And what happened was it was plus 6.5. and they were down 6, and we were right there. And with 1 second left in the first half, Derrick Jones Jr. got a putback dunk. So it was bad beat city, which tends to happen to me. But we're running it back for this one. Kitchen sink spot. Pelicans are one of the worst teams in the league. They're winless. Even without Zion, there's a chance Charlotte doesn't have LaMelo Ball, for example, who missed last game, and they won against the Utah Jazz due to an ongoing ankle injury. Unfortunately, he seems to be dealing with ankle injuries consistently. But I do think this is a spot where if you're the Pelicans, you're throwing everything out there to try to get a win. This is a game where they're actually slightly favored, which you don't see often for teams that are 0-6 against a team who, by the way, is 3-4 quietly. So the Charlotte Hornets is, interesting, entertaining as I probably thought they would be. And they're already injured. Brandon Miller, definitely not playing in this game. He's out for at least 2 weeks. LaMelo Ball, as mentioned, is questionable. And just elsewhere, in first halves, according to EV Analytics, the Pelicans are 3-3. They've covered half of their first halves they've played and nearly covered the last one. They might have covered it if you got like 8.5 somehow, but it was 6.5 last time. Didn't cover that, but 3-3 in first halves. Regardless, the Hornets 3-4, same as their record. And in terms of just overall like play style and things like that, as we mentioned, probably not a lot of defense here, so we're probably expecting overs as well. But definitely, I think this is a Pelican spot as much as I did like the Hornets coming into the season. I don't think that necessarily means they lose the game. Maybe it does, but I think the Pelicans are rightly favored here. This is a good spot for them.
Yeah, they don't have a win yet. They could have a little desperation in them as well. If Trey Murphy gets going like we think he may, could be a good spot. And I think you're getting the best number right now with that in-between Zion Williamson status. Sometimes you just got to gamble a little bit with the injury report if you think a guy may or may not go. I think a great example of that the other night was Michael Fiddle jumped in and grabbed the Lakers before it was official that Luka was confirmed, and he kind of played the middle part. I think one thing to keep in mind when you're ever looking at an NBA injury report, if a guy has been out and he pops up as questionable, to me, that means probable.
Yes.
Because there's no reason out of nowhere to put him on the report as questionable. I would say 90% of the time throughout my betting career, when I've seen a guy that's been out that's popped up on as questionable, he usually goes. He's popping up as questionable because he's most likely going to suit up. So keep that in mind. Sometimes you got to gamble a little bit here with the injury report. And if you're going to get essentially the Pelicans to win the first half in their building with no wins, and then you get Zion announced, I think this number will move in Fonseca's direction. So I like this look. If you're going to bet this spot, try to grab it and maybe take a little flyer without knowing the full and complete information on Zion Williamson. And if you get that information before it's public, be careful, because they will find you and they will come after you. Joe, all right. Joe, any comments on the Pels first half before I go with my 3-star?
Trey Murphy's dropping 30 in the first half. Let's get it.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Let's do it all. Let's do it. All right. My 3-star play. I'm going to go Hawks Magic under 229.5 over at DraftKings. There's already a couple 228.5s flashing on the board at other shops. I like this spot. I don't trust the Hawks to score enough against Orlando with Trae Young, the trigger man, still being out, dealing with that knee sprain. So last few games, both defenses have looked a lot better. We know the Magic, I think they're starting to get back rolling and get to their identity a little bit. Even though it was against Charlotte, it was against Washington, not the two best squads to have good defensive performances against. But as we mentioned, Charlotte's a good offensive team, and Orlando slowed them up tremendously the other night, keeping them under 100. First game back off a 4-game road trip for the Hawks. I love that. You know my little half joking spiel. You got to get home. You got to grab the dry cleaning. You got to walk the dog. Next thing you know, it's the second quarter, and you're just now realizing you're back in an NBA game. I think it could be a sluggish spot against a really good defense as well. Now, one thing that jumps off the page for me with the Hawks without Trae Young, They scored 109 against the Cavs, but they still shot 50%. That number's low. And then when Trey went out, the second, third, and fourth quarter versus the Brooklyn Nets, they only scored 83 total points. They're gonna need some time to get acclimated without Trey Young in the fold and running things. I think this is a good spot to look at the under. Also, and lastly, the Orlando Magic have looked weaker on defense against really good point guards. They're allowing 30 points a game to point guards. That's 27th in the NBA. They don't have to worry about that with Trey out. Atlanta just doesn't have enough ball handlers and creators as well. I think offensively they're going to struggle in this matchup. So I'm going to go under 239.5 Magic, Atlanta Hawks. Joe D, what do you think?
I like it. I mean, I think that you are kind of hitting the nail on the head, especially with both of these teams going through a number of different changes. I mean, their defense has still been solid, but the offense is really, really struggling to click as well. So I think it's definitely a tough spot. And, I think the Hawks are doing as much as they can through Jalen Johnson, but he's not Trey Young, as good as he is.
Yeah, Fonseca, what do you think?
Yeah, and the other thing is Orlando, while they look not as bad as they did the first week, it's still not fully there yet. I feel like they'll be fully realized once Desmond Bane sort of figures it out. The fit there is still clunky, a lot clunkier than I thought it would be, but it's still very early, and I think it'll sort itself out. That being said, because it's not there yet, I do like this under. I think we could start getting maybe Magic overs or games that they could have that end up being overs once Desmond Bane is slotted in there. And then I don't want to bet on Paolo Banchero's efficiency. He's been a little bit better as of late, obviously, but that's something that can come and go. And then with the Hawks, without having Trey Young, that's always going to be a question mark. So yeah, I endorse this. That's what I'll say.
All right, 2-star plays we really like, but just not as much as our 3-star plays. JD, give me your 2-star for the Tuesday NBA slate.
I'm on Joel Embiid over 16.5 points, 17.5 points. I think it's moved up to 18.5 points now. I really like the spot against the Chicago Bulls. Embiid has just absolutely fucking cooked Vucevic every time he plays him. He just is Swiss cheese. Like, he's cooking him. And honestly, the other thing too is Embiid, outside of the first game, he's been playing really, really well. He's been getting his points up 20 plus in every other game that he's played this season. So 3 games, obviously like slightly softer matchups against the Hornets, the Wizards, and then the Celtics just really don't have a great interior presence right now. But at the same time, the Bulls don't either. Vooch is just not a strong defensive center, and he's played so well against him overall. So I think that this is a good spot for Joel Embiid. I think that the 16.5, especially, I think that was the opener. That was really light. I think I'm seeing mostly now 17.5, 18.5. I would play this honestly to 20 plus and just call it a day. So I like Joel Embiid here. And then for my 1-star play, I'm going to hop on a pretty juicy number here and go with Jalen Johnson triple double. It's 24-1 right now on DraftKings. And I think that, to go along with what Sean was really saying, I think that the offense is obviously not as good without Trey Young. However, I do think that Jalen Johnson does take the bulk of that usage up. And we've seen him so far, even this season, his assists per 100 jump from 5.2 to 8.6 without Trey Young this season, which is one of the higher differences on the team. And I think that Jalen Johnson is somebody that can kind of get into the teeth of the defense. This Magic defense, I think, is good. But I also think that he's somebody where he's so physically gifted. He's obviously a bruiser. He can get into the defense. The rebounds are kind of second nature for him. I think that he's going to be somebody that Atlanta does need to lean on in this matchup to generate some significant offense and to generate consistent offense for them. So even if Orlando's collapsing on him, he's got the wherewithal to dish. So 24-1, I think it's worth a sprinkle for my 1-star play.
Yeah, to go back to Joel, I think the Bulls are playing fast, but not as fast as people think they are. My initial thought was like, is Joel going to have trouble staying on the floor just because of how up and down the game would be?
Yeah, but which side of the floor you think he's going to stay on?
Whoa, we know. Hey, little playground Joel, not passing half court. Like, yeah, I'll be down here when you got I'll be down here when you guys get back. Don't worry about it. But yeah, my initial thought was like, well, or maybe his minutes going to dip because of the style the game may turn into. But the Bulls offensively have just been a lot more efficient. They're not playing as breakneck as people think, and maybe as breakneck as they were last year for large stretches. So yeah, Joel, outside of that game one, which I actually bet him in game one, which was silly without seeing him. But yeah, he's been solid, and Philly has been solid and fun since then. So yeah, I like that. And then to go back to the Jalen Johnson play, he's going to handle the rock. The usage is going to be there, man. Like my 1 star is also a triple double. We'll get to that, but it's just a numbers game and how much this guy's going to have the ball. So I can't argue there. Fonseca, any thoughts on Embiid and the Jalen Johnson triple double?
I poked around for the Embiid numbers already at 18 and a half. Joe moves the lines constantly.
I mean, it is true that he's just demolished.
The lines are just dumb, I think. Yeah, like it's just it's light. Like he's somebody that just goes off. You know, it's like he's either showing up and putting up 20 at least in like 22 minutes or whatever. But also the thing is too is minutes have been going up. So we saw like a little bit under 20, then 20, 21, 22, 25. Like we're trending in that direction where I think the minutes are even going to continue to increase. So between that and, you know, just the fact that it's like he's either showing up and scoring because he feels good or he's scoring 4. Like it's just that's it. He's either great or he's going to do something and maybe get fined and then make a comment about the fine and then maybe get fined for that too.
He wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong about his comments, by the way, about that fine.
No, that was funny.
The blocking foul, you know, it's pretty forceful. The motion for it. But anyway, with Joel Embiid, as Free Sauce mentions in the comments, and we'll get to comments obviously at the end, the majority of them, but the minutes have been going up 20 to 23 to 25. Beyond that, it's also the field goal attempts, the usage when he is out there. He's averaging 17 points right now in just 22 minutes. So not a point per minute, but not terribly far off. Yeah. And in terms of the field goal attempts, 11 against the Hornets in those 20 minutes where he did get 20 points, 17 against the Wizards, which is not a surprise because he loves playing against the Wizards. 17 to 23 minutes. Then last game, 13 field goal attempts, just field goal attempts in 25 minutes against the Celtics, which is not to, overlook just the free throws. And he's not getting a ton compared to what he normally does, but he's still, even with all these minutes restrictions, at 5 free throw attempts per game and was 7 for 7 last time. And the free throws are something that's gradually gone up as well, because in the first Boston game he had 2, Charlotte game he had 5, and then 6 and 7 in the last 2 games he's played. So if he's getting to the line more, then I like this especially. And this probably even has alt potential given the way that he has been scoring. So it might already be at 19 and a half by the time you hear this at some point. So I think the 25 might be worth a sniff. Right now I'm seeing it at 325. He's gotten 25 a couple games ago. Like, this is a spot where, as well as the Bulls have been playing, and I think it's a little bit above their head, and I don't think Sean's going to disagree with that. I could see Joel Embiid taking that number.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that wholeheartedly about, the Bulls playing a little over their head. But I thought the Knicks spot at home was going to be a smash spot for them, and they looked sensational at the United Center against the Knicks. They looked really, really good. They end up going to the Garden and getting beat up, but they looked really, really good at home. And this game is going to be in Chicago. All right, Fonseca, give me your 2-star.
These are both leans. One of them I just like more than the other. And it's early, so not all the props are available. We might have we might have other things we love in the morning. But Jimmy Butler over 19.5 points. This is my 2-star. Jimmy Butler over 19.5 points. He's done this 6 times in 7 games this year. He's not on the injury report. He doesn't have a bruised tailbone or ass or ankle or back or neck or none of the Jimmy Butler knee. None of the Jimmy Butler injuries have popped up in recent times. I think early on in the year, he was questionable for the first game of the season because of course, but right now he's good. There's going to be off 2 nights rest as well. So we like that for our older players in the league. Jimmy Butler actually has had a spot like this, and he did clear 20-point threshold last time he had a couple nights off in leading up to the next game. And on top of this, Suns allow ninth most free throw attempts per 100 possessions at 27 per 100 possessions. We know what Jimmy Butler is going to do, and he's going to get to the free throw line. Like that's one of the main things here. His free throw rate this year is 66, which is ridiculous. He has 12 free throw attempts per 100 possessions right now, and he's shooting almost 50, 50, 90. I don't think that's going to be sustainable, and it's weird. Like Jimmy Butler, he might end up with 8 field goal attempts, but he could get here on free throw volume. Dylan Brooks also not playing in this game, which I think is noteworthy. Not that he would be guarding Jimmy the entire time, but I'm sure that he would get a share of that. Dylan Brooks he would have to be all over the floor in this game, but he's not even playing. So Phoenix's defense has dropped off. It's in the bottom 10, which is not surprising right now. And I think this is a good matchup for Jimmy. And then my 1-star play, Knipple over 2.5 threes. Again, this is another lean for me. We'll see if I actually put it down. This could be helpful if LaMelo Ball, I guess, sits, but I don't think LaMelo Ball needs to dictate this one way or another. Knipple has gotten over 2.5 threes in 5 of 7. He did it 4 times with LaMelo Ball playing. LaMelo Ball didn't play the last game, and he got that over again. But Knipple still has done this with LaMelo Ball and in the 2 games that Brandon Miller played. 6 attempts plus in all but 1 game, 43% from 3 right now. Pelicans defense, they are not stoppers at all as a defense, and they allow the 3rd most threes per 100 possessions attempts, that is, at 44. So despite this being, like I said, probably a kitchen sink spot, I do think that with Knipple here on the wings, whether or not LaMelo Ball plays, I do think he can get him up as he has been doing throughout the year and has been shooting quite well.
Yeah, I love the cap on Jimmy Butler. I think he's another guy, like you say, you can't trust Miles Bridges. I trust Jimmy. I just don't know how he's going to decide to get involved.
Right. He might not give a shit. He might not care. Like
it could be in so many different ways.
That's why it's a lean. It's a 2-star
so
lean.
Many different styles. It could be tough with Jimmy to kind of decide how he wants to attack folks. But yeah, when you can get an opportunity where you can target a squad that does put a lot of folks on the line, Jimmy should typically exploit that. All right, I'm going to get to mine before we run over to an hour because, we could do that. No problem. But my 2-star play, it's also a lean as well. I love my first play, the under 229 in the Hawks Magic game. But I'm going to go Clippers here, plus 4.5 versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. A lot of injury report stuff. AJ Mitchell's questionable. Lou Dort's questionable. The Clippers are on a back-to-back, but getting a 4.5, more than a full possession, almost like a possession and a half there until you push into a 5-point full number, depending on where it closed. Keep an eye on the injury report here, but I think overall this is a game that the Clippers will be up for. For a team in the Thunder, I've talked about how vulnerable they've been in a couple of these spots. They're not covering spreads like they have been the last couple of years. I think partly that is teams are catching up and they're being priced as the champs and how they've been mashing people. But some of it is they're just not at full strength. I don't know how you can continue to go on the road and cover numbers against some of the best teams in the West and a team in the Clippers that's playing a lot better when you're missing guys potentially like Lou Dort, like AJ. Jalen Williams is already out. Kenrich Williams is already out. So it's just a lot of question marks. And then I think we're starting to push it to a spot where we're asking way, way too much of a guy of even if it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, we're asking for way too much production on the road against a team that does match up fairly well defensively in this spot. So yeah, I'll take the Clippers plus 4.5. And for my 1-star, Josh Giddey triple-double, man, plus 300. I think this is a really good spot in their building against Philly. Could be wide open. Another thing, Ayo Dosunmu is on the injury report as questionable. He's scoring 16 points per game.
It's been good.
At the moment. He has been awesome. If he's not on the floor, that's a lot more ball handling and even attempts for Josh Giddey. I would look at a couple different things if it gets ruled official that Ayo Dosunmu is not going to play, I think this is one of those spots where Josh Giddey could put up a massive, massive evening. So I'm going to sprinkle Josh Giddey triple-double. There's a plus 300 in the market on Josh. But, yeah, I think this is one of those games where, especially – like, we know what Tyrese Maxey and VJ and those guys want to do, and it's not play defense. So Josh could be in an opportunity where he could get a smoother, more efficient, more, I guess, less resistance just on that end in a wide open game. It's the if I'm not mistaken, it's the highest total on the board. The total is 239.5 and going up from earlier in the evening. So this could be a spot where the Bulls put up 125 plus, and that'll be led by Josh Giddey, especially if Ayo Dosunmu is not on the floor. So I like that spot for Josh Giddey. Keep an eye on the injury report there as well. All right. DK, our DK segment, the crown is yours. King of the Court, man. It's Tuesday. Give him the rules on King of the Court one more time, Joe Dellera. Essentially picking the player you think will have the most combined PRA on the evening. You enter, you get potential bonus bets depending on how many people entered on the same player you did, if that player does have the highest PRA.
Yeah, I mean, more or less, it's basically that there's a pot of like X amount of bonus bets that are divvied up between whoever used. You have to make sure you apply the token. It's not automatic. You get one token, you apply it to the player, and you have to bet. Like, there's usually a minimum amount. You have to bet that on a prop related to that player.
I believe it's $5.
Yeah, I think it's $5 for everybody. So the gist of it is that you're trying to pick somebody that's going to have the most PRA on the slate. But I also think that there's a little bit of game theory to it, because what DraftKings actually added last week, which was awesome, was they had like the live leaderboard, so you could see what your bonus bets were going to be. And then they've been really good with being transparent in terms of like what the bonus bets would be, because a lot of people are curious, like, man, I wonder what I was going to get like with this guy. Yeah. And it was crazy because like Alex Sarr was leading for like a while, and he was at like $9,000 in bonus bets, and then Tyrese Maxey took the lead. He was at $108, and then the windup was Giannis took the lead, and then the stat corrected him down, so he tied with Maxey. But if it was just Giannis, it was not going to be a lot. I think it was still only going to be like $30 or so, which it's better than not having anything. But I think at the same time, with this promo, it's only like once a week, and you only get so many chances, like at essentially like a free roll at a massive amount of bonus bets to kind of add to your account, add to your bankroll. So, it's one thing if you're like, oh, look, I just want to try to pick the winner. We're all trying to pick winners, but we are usually trying to beat the pool a little bit too. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today, and kind of break down some of our angles and some of the guys that we like for this.
Yeah, I'm going to go. I'll go first, since I essentially gave my entire cap on it. Mine for King of the Court is Josh Giddey. I think he's in a spot where he can have a massive, massive evening against Philly. If Ayo Dosunmu doesn't go, even better overall, just for the usage. I think it's a spot where Giddey, who's been shooting it really well to start the year, and they've been playing a collective, fun basketball. The only thing about Giddey and the Bulls is that they legitimately, on a majority of the games this year, have had 7 guys in double figures. I mean, the ball has been everywhere. They have 6 guys average in double figures. So it's going to take a little bit of Giddey forcing the issue a bit. But if Ayo doesn't go, I think it helps his case quite a bit. So I'm going to go Josh Giddey. Bryan Fonseca, who you got for King of the Court on a Tuesday?
This might sound like I'm hedging against myself because I like Pelicans in the first half, but there's a world where this goes in the complete opposite direction. The Hornets are up 15-20 at halftime. Willie Green gets fired like before the game is even over. Like there's a world. Listen, it's betting at the end of the day. No one's going to be 100% right on anything. That being said, LaMelo Ball is where I wanted to look and potentially get some value. LaMelo Ball is questionable to even play in this game, but if he does, I don't know what the Pelicans are going to do defensively to do anything about LaMelo Ball, who doesn't have Brandon Miller by his side as well, who quietly is always a threat to do this because of the counting stats that he could just put up there. And obviously he's not shooting with terribly awesome efficiency, but still averaging, a ho-hum 23, 10, and 8. If you're looking at just points, assists, and rebounds. So I do think if LaMelo does play, this could be a good spot for him against one of the worst defenses in the league, and in a game where honestly you have two of the worst defenses in the league, both in the bottom 5 right now.
JD.
It's really hard to get away from Giannis here. If you want to go chalk, I really don't mind it. It's a great matchup against the Toronto Raptors, and Giannis has just been an absolute freak this season, just otherworldly. Every single game he's putting up bonkers stat lines. And when we look at even his head-to-head against the Raptors, he had 58 PRA this season. So, we know that this is a matchup he can thrive in. 58 is a monster number, honestly. And he did it with a pretty well-rounded performance. It was 31 points, 7 assists, and 20 rebounds. So it's not something where you go, oh, well, he scored, 55 points. It's unlikely. 20 rebounds, obviously a lot, but Giannis is somebody that can always, put up some monster rebounding numbers as well. So I think that if you want to beat Giannis and if you're looking to get somebody that can be king of the court, you need to get somebody that can beat Giannis. Obviously it's a back-to-back. So if he doesn't play for whatever reason, then that opens things up a little bit, but Giannis is going to be the one to beat, I think, for king of the court on Tuesday night.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. The thing about the king of the court is you typically are going to have to back a guy that's going to put up a lot of points on the evening.
Yeah.
Because, you can have a triple-double all you want. If it's 17, 10, and 10, that shit's not going to cut it when Giannis scores 34.
Yeah. Yeah, because Giannis will score 35 and 15, and he's already at, wherever you were at. So,
and as his game has evolved, he's dropping off 7 helpers as well. So he's really tough to go against, but the value for Giddey, I think, will be worth it, especially if Io doesn't go. Yeah. And LaMelo, we've seen him put up some freakish stat lines. Jokes aside, king of the court every Tuesday over at DraftKings. It's easily the funnest promo out there in the sports betting landscape. It's every single week. Have some fun. Check it out. King of the Court at DraftKings every Tuesday. The crown is yours. All right, that'll do it for the Bucket Squad. For Bryan Fonseca, for Joe Dellera, I am your host, Sean Little. Until next time, which is tomorrow, let's get buckets, baby.